Okay friends, in this video we are going to go over the motors in the Estes Proto X, the CX-10 by Cheerson, which is the new smallest quadcopter in the world by only 5 millimeters. Honestly, I'd like to have one a little bit bigger to make sure the stability is good. And also with the Cheerson, it adds plastic, which will add weight, and it has the same battery, same motor and everything, so that plastic is just going to add weight. The only thing with this is the canopy. I ordered 2 new sets of motors. When you get your motors, they come in a bag like this. This motor right here is a used one, but still works. And I have 4 other ones that still work. They're used. And then the lower 4 are the ones I actually got in the package. You can see I have motor holders and 3 props in there also. I also have these 4 used ones. I think I just said that. Now when it comes down to the motors themselves, you have the armature, which inside the armature, it is actually hollow. You can see, it's hollow. And inside the can, there's not magnets around the outside. The magnets are in that little center portion. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, see that little center portion inside? That goes inside of that hollow part. So when you put it down in here, it sort of works like a outrunner with the magnets. It's sort of weird how these motors work. Usually there's magnets around the outside, and then around the outside, and then it causes the armature to spin. But with this one, the magnets are actually on the inside, and then the coil's on the outside. It's sort of like a reverse brushless motor, but these are not brushless. Where is the motor I was going to dissect? And here's the motor we're going to dissect. This is a counterclockwise spinning motor. The way to dissect them is there's 4 little metal prongs that are lightly bent into this plastic. You just want to get up under those and pry them up. I really don't care how much I damage this motor because it's shot either way. Basically what happens with these little motors is the flow of electrons basically degrades the very tiny, minute brushes, because these are not brushless motors, and the transfer of electrons from the electricity actually causes them to break. I mean, well, disintegrate from what I've seen. Okay, we almost got it. There we go. Got it out. Now, yet again, you can see, this is my white wire, positive. There's no brush. So basically what happens with these little motors is the brush where the electricity comes in literally dissolves. I mean, they're so tiny. I mean, I don't know how well you can see that, but right there, the right brush, I really don't know how well people are going to be able to see that, but you can see that right brush is gone. So it's not going to spin. So if you're going to get one of these copters, either remember it is a novelty item and you're not going to be able to fly it a lot, or buy a crap load of extra motors and motor mounts and batteries like I have done, and always keep some spare motors on hand, because you never know when they're going to go out. So that's why I have 2 sets and some extra motor mounts. I actually had 1 motor mount that broke. But I mean, that is the weakest link by far with these. And any nano quadcopter are the non-brushless motors. The brushes are so tiny that they disintegrate, and every single time I have taken one apart, I have never found the brush. See, I got a little bit of some PCB board. Let's see if we can get the brush. See, the brush isn't on the bottom. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to get this one out because I didn't really open the can at the bottom as much as it should be. So it's going to damage the coils, but I don't care. Yeah, it's damaging the coils. And see, there's no brush to be found. So the only thing that I can think of is that tiny little brush literally disintegrates inside. And there's actually a little puff of black, which would show that something went wrong. But that's what happens with these motors, is the brushes go out, and it's just that little part right there, that tiny little part on the bottom that goes on the bottom of this. I mean, if you could just change out that, you wouldn't have to continually change your motors unless you bend a shaft. Shit, I'm not even in the frame. I mean, if you could just replace this, all you'd have to do is keep these in there, keep the armature inside, and just replace this part with the brushes. But for $9–10 for an entire set of brand new ones, it's really not that bad. So I would suggest, if you're going to buy a nano quadcopter, be sure to buy extra parts, especially motors. Battery isn't as important, but you will need a new battery eventually, because these little 100 milliamp hour single cell batteries aren't going to last forever. They'll probably last for a couple hundred charges. That'll be it. But don't buy one for your kids, because within 2 days it'll be crashed, it'll be wrecked, and then you're going to have a sad child. But if you know how to solder, you can tell your child, give me a second, I can fix it, and give it back. It's not hard to fix, I promise. If you know how to solder, you can fix it. So that's basically it for this video. I just wanted to show what happens to these damn little motors. The brush from the positive side literally disintegrates from the flow of electrons through it. Basically what happens with electricity is electrons are taken away and then replaced. Well, with metal that is so thin and so small, in time that metal is going to degrade and you're going to have a broken brush. So I'm going to end that video here, as I have someplace to be, and so does my fiance. So just the main thing you need to remember if you're going to get a Proto X or any one of the nanocopters is make sure you can change the motors, because they are going to go out in some time. It's inevitable. So go ahead and spend $10 on an extra set of motors. Or do like I did and buy 2 sets, so you'll never be out. If you use one set, go ahead and order if you use one set, go ahead and order another one, and you'll be flying and have another set while you're waiting for the other set to come in the mail, so you'll always be up in the air with it. So that's basically it with this. I've tried to do a soldering video of how to replace the motors, but enough people have done that. It's not hard. You unsolder the 2 wires and then just pop the motor holder. It's called the motor holder, actually, not a motor mount, motor holder. And you also have to make sure they're nice and loose, because these motors like to move. And yes, it does affect the flight a little, like especially when you spin and yaw. It sort of likes to wander around a little, but still a fun little toy. But remember, it's either going to be a novelty item, or you are going to be shelling out $10 about every 2 or 3 days, especially if you fly it more than 5 or 10 times a day. because it doesn't take much for that battery to charge, about 20-25 minutes, and I'm usually at a full charge, and I've done from 4 minutes up to 5 minutes. It all depends. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move up to a single cell battery that goes across the entire bottom. I've seen a lot of people doing that, where they basically take a battery and put it on the bottom and put a better charging port and get longer flight times, but it makes it heavier. So I don't know if I'm going to do that, or I could just buy a second one, but that means I'll have to have even more parts. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, like usual, comment below. This isn't the FPV version. The FPV version is actually about that long by about that wide. So it's the smallest FPV quad, but it's not. This is no longer the smallest quad. But I'm sorry, I'd rather spend $30 and get a name brand Estes than buy something that I've never even heard the name brand of. I've never even heard of the name brand Cheerson. So that's it for this video. Catch you on the flip side.